Okay, so let's talk about language and language development. This is in the part of the cognition chapter. So in a way, this is the last day of the cognition chapter. And so let's just go ahead and get started, and I'll talk to you and try to justify why we're learning this stuff. Okay, so when you're born, you go through what are called stages of language acquisition. You start off as a baby, goo goo gaga. We call that babbling. Goo goo gaga, buh buh buh. That what you have are babies practicing consonants. Buh buh buh, good 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 good, and they'll just do that. And it's the most awesome thing in the world. And then one day they'll say their first word. Usually it's mama or dada or baba. So when you start talking about your holophrastic stage, that means one word. So a kid will go like dog, and then that's one word. Or mommy, mama, that's one word. Dada, that's one word. Or baba. Okay, so it starts with goo goo gaga baba, that's babbling, and then it goes to the holophrastic stage, that's one word. And then it gets on to the next stage called telegraphic. Think telegraphic 2, telegraphic 2. And this is when babies are talking about they use two-word phrases like big dog or want baba. Okay? No potty, no potty. So they do two words. And I'll be honest with you, when I taught myself Spanish, I kind of went from holophrastic. I would go cerveza. I'd point, mesa, puerta. I'd point at things. And then after a while, I'd be able to say verbs, quiero cerveza, uh, pero grande. So the point is that I started off with one word and then I moved on to two words when I taught myself Spanish. So it's kind of the same thing. All right. So babbling, holophrastic, one word, telegraphic two, telegraphic two. Okay. All right. So this is basically what I just said. So if you want to pause, go for it. I'm moving on. Overregularization. Okay. Now I've seen this before when kids will take words and they know the rules, all right, but what they do is they take the rules and they kind of over follow them. Like for example, they know that if you add the est to the end of it, they know what that means. So when they say you're my bestest mom, that's not correct. That I need to make a meme like kids got the spirit, that Will Smith meme where he's like kids got the spirit. You're my bestest mom. Or how about instead of saying I took it, a kid might say I taked it. I taked it, which isn't correct. But the kid knows that if you add ed to the end of a word, that sound anyway, then it makes it past tense. Okay. Now names are not horribly important, but there is a name Lev Vygotsky who studied this overregularization in kids. Okay. All right. So, which of the following is a hollow phrase 1-year-old Amanda is likely to say? Okay. So, is babbling. Gaga is babbling. Eat apple, that's telegraphic 2. Telegraphic 2. So, the answer is D. So, they may point and say bottle. They'll just point and say bottle. They don't won't say I want bottle. They'll just say bottle. And they'll point. That's holophrastic. That's holophrase. Okay, so here's an AP question. 2-year-old Gia tells her grandmother that she swept the floor yesterday. Okay, instead of saying swept, she swept. Okay, so take a look, hit pause, but the answer is now be flexible here because the phrasing is a little different than what I taught you, but the answer is D. Over regularization, over generalizing it, they overgeneralize the grammatical rules. Okay. A young child says, "Where did you go?" Which of the following psychologists would most likely argue that the child is over-regularizing a logical grammatical rule? That's Vygotsky. Okay. All right. So moving right along. So how do we learn language? There are a couple of theories. Now, I hope you recognize these guys. This is Albert Bandura, and he did the Bobo doll experiment from the learning chapter. This is Skinner and his Skinner box and his rats in the operant chamber. So what these guys say is that we learn language through modeling other people, and we learn language through positive reinforcement. So basically, everything you learned from learning chapter, like operant conditioning and social learning theory is like monkey see, monkey do. If your parents cuss a lot, then you're going to cuss a lot. Or if your parents talk in an accent, then you're going to talk in an accent. Okay? That's social learning theory. Okay? You might even say that's observational learning. So, okay, so that's two chapters that these guys show up in. So these guys say that we learn language through nurture, not nature. Okay, the environment. All right, so which of the following sets of concepts is central to social learning theory? And the answer is, hit pause if you need to, but the answer is A, observation, imitation, and modeling, just like the Bobo doll experiment. Okay. Chomsky, he says that there is no way that we could learn language just through imitation alone. Chomsky says that there must be something in our brain, some inborn universal language acquisition device. There must be something in our brains that already have some sort of pre-coded language in it or something. Now let me back him up a little bit. I have a daughter, and I'll tell you, when you have your own kids, your kid will say something, and you're like, "Where the heck did you learn that? I didn't teach you that." And you turn to your wife or husband, "Did you teach our kid that?" And you're like, "Where did you learn it from? You didn't learn it from TV or anything like that." It's crazy. It's crazy how fast we learn language. And Chomsky says there's no way, it would take us way too long to wait for positive reinforcement. That's right, that's a goat. Can you say goat? We can't do that for every single word. So Chomsky says that there's a nature component, maybe inside the brain, that where we're hardwired for language acquisition. Now, Skinner and Bandura says that we learn language through our environment, through modeling, and through positive reinforcement. But Chomsky says that there's a nature component to language because it would take too long to wait for positive reinforcement. So, nature, Chomsky's nativist theory. Nurture, social learning theory. Environment, Albert Bandura, Skinner. Unlike B.F. Skinner, Noam Chomsky's nativist theory believes that children what? Okay, it's not A, that would be Skinner. We're talking about Chomsky here. The answer is C. Hardwired, that's nature. Inborn language acquisition device. According to nativist theory, language is acquired what? Okay, look for nature. The answer is B. Inborn ability, natural ability. Noam Chomsky's view of language proposes that what? Okay, now this is a rare question where you actually need to know somebody's name. Those don't happen very often on the AP psychology exam. Okay, the answer is A. It's like a lockbox of language acquisition. Okay, and then there's a guy named Benjamin Whorf, and he has a separate theory. He didn't talk about how we acquire language. He this is just out of nowhere. He says that language determines the way we think. So what he did was he went and studied the Hopi Indian tribe. Think of them as like Eskimos up in Canada and Alaska and things like that. The Hopi Indian tribe has no past tense in their language. So Benjamin Whorf says they rarely think of the past. I mean, think about it. If you don't have a past tense in your language, then you're not going to think of the past. So language does change how we think. Also, you know that whole thing about how Eskimos have 100 words for snow, which tells you that snow is a big part of their culture. Well, think about Americans. How many words for car do we have? Or vehicle do we have? Well, you got truck, sedan, convertible, motorcycle, coupe, hoopty, rod. You got all kinds of words, which shows you that cars are a big part of our culture. The linguistic relativity hypothesis predicts that what? Hit pause if you need to, but the answer is A. If you don't have a past tense, then you can't think about the past tense. You can't think about the past. According to Benjamin Whorf's linguistic relativity hypothesis, what is the relation between language and cognition? All right, hit pause if you need to, but the answer is B. Okay. We are shaped by our language, and our language is a reflection of our culture. All right. I want to talk to you a little bit about language development. Okay. Phonemes. Now think of the word phone. Okay. You hear sound through the phone. In a spoken language, the smallest distinctive sound unit is a phoneme. Okay. It turns out that the English language has, I think, 46 phonemes. For example, the letter E has a few by itself, the letter A has a few. And if you take some letters and combine them, sometimes you get a different phoneme. Like ch is a phoneme. That is a sound of the English language. The word chug has 3 phonemes. Ch, g, 3 phonemes. So how many phonemes does the word platypus have? Well, it's not just syllables. Remember, it's all kinds of, and I'm not saying that I'm an expert on this, but let's count them. Pl, a, t, I, p, s. I count 7, and there may be 8. I don't know. Is pl 1 or is pl 2? I don't know, but it's about 7 or 8 phonemes. Okay. Now, morphemes, morphemes, meaning. Morphemes have meaning. So it could be a root word, it could be a prefix, it could be a suffix. So let's take a look at the word untying. How many morphemes does that have? I'm counting 3. Un, that has meaning. Ing, that has meaning as well, the suffix, and then tie, that has a meaning. So I'm counting 3 morphemes in that word. Now, some of y'all will think, why the heck are we learning this? You know what? I don't know, but I'll be honest with you. If you are a child development psychologist, you may use these words to say, this child is intellectually disabled. He has limited use of his morphemes. I guess it has to do with child development psychology. All right. Grammar is the rules of a language. I don't have students write this down. Okay. Semantics. Now, this is important. Now, this comes up in the memory chapter as well. Semantic means meaning. So let me give you an example. Let's say, do you, like, for example, do you think that America become a socialist country? Is socialism bad or is socialism good? Well, one thing that people argue about online is how do you define socialism? You know, and when you start arguing about what you think socialism is, then it becomes a semantic argument and a very time wasting argument as that. Semantics is the meaning of a word. So when you um, when you add morphemes to it, you sometimes change the semantics. Okay, adding ed at the end of the word makes it past tense. So you're changing the semantics of it. Okay. Syntax. Now I have seen this. It deals with word order. In English, we tend to put the adjective before the noun, but not in Spanish. So is this the White House or is it the Casa Blanca? Is it the White House or the House White? That's syntax. Syntax deals with the order of words. Yoda is famous for his weird syntax. 900 years old I became. Learned correct syntax? I did not. You know, so what? So he messes with the order of the words, and it makes it sound kind of funny. Okay. All right, let's try this. Which is the smallest unit of meaning in a language? It could be a prefix, a suffix. The answer is B, morpheme. Morpheme, meaning. This question's kind of out of nowhere. Research suggests that bilingualism has a negative effect on what? Okay, the answer is none of the above. It turns out that there are many benefits to learning two languages. Okay, when the word oat is changed to the word boat, the number of, okay, now hit pause and take a look at your answers. Okay, so how many phonemes does the word oat have? O, t, two. Okay, so that's two phonemes in the word oat. O, t. Now let's look at the word boat. B, O, t. That's three phonemes. So when you change the word oat in the boat, you increase the phonemes by one. Now let's look at the morphemes. Oat does not have any suffix or prefix, so it has one morpheme. The word boat is the same. The boat has one morpheme. So the answer is A. Notice none of these are AP questions. I think I've only seen it once on the AP exam ever. Now check this out. Tran was learning English as an adult. He found that he had trouble with some of the sounds in English because those sounds were not part of his native Chinese, like the la 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 la. Okay. The difficulty he was having involved what? Okay, so which one of these involves sounds? The answer is B, phonemes. The utterance likes cat my swim to sounds like something Yoda would say. Likes cat my swim to. That is a problem with syntax because it deals with the order of words. Okay, here's an interesting question that really hasn't anything to do with what I've taught you. A 40-year-old man and his 7-year-old son move to a country where they have to learn a new language. Compared with his son, the 40-year-old man will, okay, hit pause. The answer is A. So if you have, like, let's say I moved to uh, Iraq and or Iran or something, and I have to learn the phoneme. Like my name is Ahmed. I'm not trying to make fun. I'm just saying that that is a phoneme in a language that I'm not familiar with, and I would have trouble with that the older that I get. Okay, so the answer is A. And that is it. All right. I hope that was helpful to you.